Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Mr. Todd Armstrong. This is summer school right now, but I will also be here hopefully in September. I'm mainly a social studies and English teacher. I've been teaching for about 25 years here, but most of my teaching experience was abroad. I was in 2 different countries. I was in Malaysia for a bit, mainly in Japan. I've been back in Canada for the last 5 years. Brought my family back here. I'm originally from the very far north of Canada. From here, you have to take an airplane about 3 hours north, way north. I don't sound like people around here, and I talk differently and act differently. Main reason why I got into teaching is because I had a few other jobs, but when I was much younger, I volunteered to teach immigrants English when they first came during my university days. Even though I was studying something else, I really liked it. So then I hopped a plane and I went to Japan first. Did the teaching English thing there, went over to Malaysia for a bit, went back to Japan, did that. I have been teaching almost all my life. Good thing I like about this school particularly is kids here have to do something they have to do 2 things that are incredibly hard that most people can't. They have to learn a language, and then they have to get educated in that language. How many people do we know can do that? That's why I tell the kids here, wherever I go, what you're doing is incredibly hard, and most people can't do it. So already I applaud you for that. And then especially like social studies, it's a topic that some people love. They all think it's all just history, but it is a lot of history. But I also teach economics, I also teach the psychology. So especially when the kids are new here in Canada, I know exactly what they're going through. I went through a place where I couldn't read the signs, couldn't understand the language, so I know exactly what they're going through. So that's why I can relate, I think, a little bit better. But the main point is, so I know what they're going through. So that's how I do my teaching. The idea is when I know that this is a concept that where they're from, whether it be China, Korea, Brazil, wherever they're from, that they don't have it there. So I have to show them either in pictures or a way. And then that gets into not only the history of things, but that also gets into, when it comes to English, when it comes to language learning. A lot of the kids will look at language and they'll take the literal meaning of it. And then I slowly introduce them to humor. Then they have to know the difference between when someone's kidding and when someone is not kidding. Right? When they're reading a book, then as it says on the wall there, we have literal language, a whole bunch of little things that we do in my English classes that helps them learn. And then the most beautiful thing that they get to do is you really get to do 2 things at once. The more you're abroad, not only do you learn about that place, you understand where you're from even more, because you're constantly comparing the 2, right? So that's why I really like teaching kids from other countries, because they get to do so many different things, and the irony is they don't even realize it. And that's probably one of the best things about the teaching, is when they get to actually make these insights on their own. I just kind of guide on how to create them. And then in English class, the best thing about it is getting them to express their thoughts and their ideas. Instead of the typical lecture and me telling them what you should think, I show them, here's some interpretations, which one do you agree with? And if you don't agree with any of them, give me what you think. And that's what I really like about the English class I teach, and giving them the tools to be able to express it. In social studies, it's about explaining how things are and why they are nowadays. So a lot of people will think that they have no real connection, but one of my favorite questions is why? Everything from why is that street named that? Why are there people here? Everything. Why? Can you explain it? There is a reason. So that's how I make that connection. And then the kids who are really interested in that topic, that's great. And if you're more of the science kind, that's great too. But everything is language, even math. If you can't understand the word problem, you're not going to be able to do the math. So everything is really language. It doesn't matter whether you're doing drama, science, social studies, English. Language is everywhere, and that's why I really like it. And I really like how I can really have an influence on the kids. Not to say I'm molding and shaping them, but giving them the tools to take control of their own lives and to make decisions for themselves. Because lot of these kids have never left home, they're alone, they may have homestays, they've never been away from their families. So a lot of these kids are pretty brave because a lot of people wouldn't do that. They wouldn't even try to do that. So that's why I really enjoy the job that I do.
What sort of unique teaching styles or unique sort of knowledge and expertise will you be bringing to CIRA High School?
Number one thing is I know what it's like to try to learn another language in that country's language culture. I know what they're going through. The way I do my teaching is I don't do the standard what you would see in a general public high school with native speakers. Some of the things I do are a lot more pictures. Without getting too technical, is I can place myself in their shoes. I know I can anticipate somewhat what a lot of their problems will be, and then I can adjust my teaching to make sure that they're still at the same level as when they walk out of here as if they went to a very large public school. They'll have the same skills, same level of understanding, and the best thing is because we're a small school, I can give them a lot more attention. And when they do struggle, that's great. I always say if you're struggling, that means you're doing something. But the idea is, so to answer your question about what makes my teaching a little bit different, I come from an ESL background. That's my primary. So I know how language is learned and why do they forget and how to, it's not just about grammar, it's about using it. Language is a tool, and that's how I always view it. Whether it's a chef with their knife, a guitarist with their guitar, whatever, it's a tool for communication and expressing ideas. So with that in mind, it's not grammar translation, here's in my language and then that. So that's what I bring here.
Cool. And what do you love about the students here?
Most of the things is, well, first off, there's not that many of them. So you get to really get to know them. That's the beautiful thing. Without getting to know them, you teach a student. You don't teach a curriculum. You don't teach a subject. You teach a person. Over my years, some kids or some students really want to get to know me as a person, and then there's that. And there's some students who just do the work and go. That's fine too. But the idea of, like many teachers have said, without that connection, no learning can be done. So you may have heard these answers again and again and again, but that's a sign of what a teacher actually is doing. Like I said, you don't teach a subject, you teach students. And without getting to know them and how they think and how they feel and how they work, they can't learn. And the number one basic thing is if you have enthusiasm for your subject and you actually show that you care a bit, they can feel it real quick, right? They've been students for a long time. They've had so many teachers, they know that. So that's what I also bring. We all have good days and bad days, but I've never really felt that I've ever regretted becoming a teacher, not once. And with these kids here, they're getting to know me and I'm getting to know them, but you can just tell the atmosphere is pretty relaxed.
Can you tell us a success story you've had with a student, if you've had any?
One of my other previous jobs is there was a student, he was 19 years old, autistic, social anxiety, went through COVID, and what happened was he wouldn't come to school. And then at the beginning of the school year, for some reason, we just clicked. Even the principal at the time I've never seen him talk to anybody like he's talked to you. And then through the year, we were able to work with him one-on-one because he had social anxiety and things like that. He was able to graduate because we tailored the classes to him. That's the real success story. Sometimes for no special reason, it's when you click with somebody or they click with you and then they make the changes. So not to say that I'm 100% responsible, there's maturity factors, there's age factors, but when you can actually point to something and say, I actually helped you achieve that, that's the rewarding part of it.